Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air, the bombshell decision involving the Menendez brothers, the DA just a short time ago. His decision now, and how soon could Lyle and Erik Menendez go free? Also developing tonight, McDonald says it has found the source of the ingredient linked to that deadly E. coli outbreak in Quarter Pounders. And tonight now, precautions involving several other restaurants. First tonight, the breaking news late today in the case of Lyle and Erik Menendez. Members of the Menendez family sitting in the front row supporting them. Los Angeles DA George Gascón tonight recommending the brothers be resentenced to life with the possibility of parole, meaning after serving 35 years in prison, they could soon now go free. So who has to sign off on this? Matt Gutman live in Los Angeles with late reporting. Tonight, just 12 days until Election Day, more than 30 million Americans have cast their votes. Former President Donald Trump tonight vowing if he's elected, he will fire Jack Smith, who was prosecuting Donald Trump for trying to overthrow the results of the last election and the horror on January 6th. And after CNN invited both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump to a debate or a town hall, Trump saying no to both, Harris showing up to answer questions and making her case in front of undecided voters. What she promised. Tonight, Russian President Vladimir Putin speaking about Donald Trump after reports they have spoken at least a half dozen times since Trump left office, and that Trump sent Putin COVID testing machines while the pandemic was raging here in the U.S. What Putin is now saying about his relationship with Trump, and what Putin said about North Korean troops in Russia reportedly getting ready to help Russia fight against Ukraine. Here in the U.S. tonight, McDonald's late today revealing it has found the source of the ingredient in that deadly E. coli outbreak linked to Quarter Pounders. The ingredient, where it's from, and now the precautions involving several other restaurants. Alarming images coming in from Gaza. Israeli drone video showing tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians evacuating through bombed-out neighborhoods. The chilling images back here at home tonight of an attempted kidnapping. The news just in after a suspect is seen allegedly cornering an 11-year-old girl. What a young bystander did to save her. Tonight in the Northeast, the heat and the lack of rain, and now the fire danger. New York City and Philadelphia and the entire month of October with no rain so far. The Parade of Champions tonight, the Liberty, celebrating their first WNBA title on the streets of New York. And tonight here, we remember a member of our own ABC News family. You'll remember his reporting, his humanity.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here at a very busy Thursday night. We begin tonight with that breaking news late today in the case of Lyle and Erik Menendez. Just a short time ago here, the Los Angeles DA, George Gascón, says he will now recommend the Menendez brothers be resentenced to life with the possibility of parole, meaning that after already serving 35 years in prison, the brothers could soon be set free. The DA saying he believes the Menendez brothers have paid their debt to society, pointing to their age at the time of the murders and the sexual abuse he says they endured. The first trial ended in a hung jury. The second trial heard very little of that alleged abuse. Several members of the Menendez family had sought their release. Many were at today's news conference, some in the front row to hear the decision. And the DA tonight with a message to victims of sexual abuse, and noting that 30 years ago, society could have done more to help recognize the victims of abuse, girls and boys. So tonight, with the DA's move, the judge who comes next on this and the parole board both must sign off. ABC's chief national correspondent Matt Gutman leading us off from Los Angeles.
After nearly 35 years behind bars, the extraordinary move late today. The L.A. District Attorney recommending a judge re-sentence the brothers for the brutal shotgun murders of their wealthy parents, Jose and Kitty.
They have been in prison for nearly 35 years. I believe that they have paid their debt to society.
DA George Gascón recommending their life sentence without parole be replaced by a sentence of 50 years to life with the possibility of parole, making them eligible for parole immediately. And he addressed the heart of this case, allegations the brothers were sexually abused by their father.
I do believe that the brothers were subjected to a tremendous amount of dysfunction in the home and molestation.
And he went on to say that prosecutors' office should reflect on whether they could have done more for victims of abuse.
I think there is also important to have some introspection today, because I think that often, for cultural reasons, we don't believe victims of sexual assault, whether they're women, or whether they're men.
The 93-year-old sister of Kitty Menendez sitting in the front row. Just days ago, nearly 20 family members pleaded for their release.
No jury today would issue such a harsh sentence without taking their trauma into account.
The grisly murders gripping the country, the brothers buying shotguns and blasting their parents with 16 rounds. Then staging this 911 call.
What's the problem? Someone killed my parents. Pardon me? Someone killed my parents.
From the outside, they embodied the American dream. But behind closed doors, the brothers described a nightmare of sexual abuse by their father and their mother turning a blind eye.
He raped me.
Did you cry?
Yes. My dad had been molesting me.
The brothers said they feared for their lives when they shot their parents after Lyle threatened to expose their secret. Their cousins backing up the allegations of abuse.
He told me never to reveal it to anybody, to promise him that I would keep it a secret between us.
But prosecutors in 1993 said the abuse defense was fabricated, at one point even saying men can't be raped.
It's the people's position, first of all, that men cannot be raped since they lack the necessary equipment to actually be raped.
That jury deadlocked.
I find that the jury is hopelessly deadlocked, and the court declares a mistrial.
And a second trial severely limiting evidence of abuse. They were convicted and sentenced to life without parole. Our Barbara Walters sat down with the brothers.
Do you think you're evil?
Oh no, I'm the opposite of evil. He's not an evil person, and I'm not an evil person.
The push for the brothers' release years in the making after a new generation discovered the trial online and took to TikTok. A string of documentaries would follow, along with a wildly popular but controversial Netflix scripted series.
This is done. This is done. You understand?
But the case now moves from the court of public opinion to a real courtroom. You are recommending that they be released essentially immediately.
I am recommending that they be released because I believe that the people that they were at age 19 and 21 is not the same people that we're seeing 35 years later.
Kitty Menendez's brother, Milton, remains opposed to the brothers' release, but tonight there is broad support and celebration on both sides of the Menendez family.
This is about truth, justice, and healing. It is time for Lyle and Erik to come home.
So let's bring in Matt Gutman with us live from Los Angeles. Matt, what are the next steps here? How quickly could this move?
David, it could be 30 to 45 days before this goes to a judge who will then have to rule on that resentencing, and then it has to go before a parole board. After that, it's possible that even Governor Newsom could weigh in on this, David.
Matt Gutman leading us off from Los Angeles with the breaking news. Matt, thank you. We turn now to the race for the White House, just 12 days now until Election Day. But tonight, this number, more than 30 million Americans have already voted in early voting. Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump tonight in the key battleground states. And tonight, former President Trump vowing, if elected, he will fire Jack Smith, who is prosecuting Trump for allegedly trying to overthrow the results of the last election and the horror on January 6th. And after CNN invited both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump to a debate or to a town hall, Trump saying no to both, Harris showing up to make her case in front of undecided voters in Pennsylvania and what she promised. Here's ABC's Mary Bruce.
Tonight, Donald Trump declaring that if he's reelected, one of his first orders of business will be to fire the special counsel prosecuting him for his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Trump saying getting rid of Jack Smith will be, quote, one of the first things addressed.
It's so easy. I would fire him within 2 seconds.
In an interview later today, Trump saying Smith should be, quote, thrown out of the country. Tonight, Kamala Harris's campaign hitting back, saying Donald Trump thinks he's above the law. And these latest comments are right in line with the warnings made by Trump's former chief of staff that he wants to rule as a dictator with unchecked power. That former chief of staff, retired four-star General John Kelly, told the New York Times Trump fits the definition of a fascist and would love to rule as a dictator himself.
Oh, I think I think he'd love to be. I think he'd love to be just like he was in business. He could tell people to do things and they would do it, and not really bother too much about whether what the legalities were.
As a retired general, Kelly doesn't endorse candidates, but he says he's speaking out now because Trump has vowed to go after his political enemies using the military if necessary, calling them the enemy within. At a CNN town hall, Harris urging voters to heed his warning.
I think one has to think about, why would someone who served with him, who is not political, a 4-star Marine general, why is he telling the American people now? And frankly, I think of it as he's just putting out a 911 call to the American people. Understand what could happen if Donald Trump were back in the White House. And this time, we must take very seriously those folks who knew him best and who were career people are not going to be there to hold him back.
That town hall held in place of a proposed debate. Harris had agreed to participate, but Trump refused. Today, Harris taking note.
Yet again, Trump not showing up, refused to be a part of a CNN debate.
And zeroing in on her campaign's closing message that Trump is a danger to the country.
Either you have the choice of a Donald Trump who will sit in the Oval Office, stewing, plotting revenge, retribution, writing out his enemies list, or what I will be doing, which is responding to folks like the folks last night with a to-do list.
And late this evening, Trump lashing out at John Kelly, who was his longest-serving chief of staff, and before that, his Secretary of Homeland Security.
I realized I didn't like him, pretty quickly and was stopping paying attention. But he was a bully who made up stories.
Minutes later, Trump firing up a crowd of supporters in Tempe, Arizona.
This is going to be the biggest and most important election ever. It's going to be the biggest political event, I believe, in our country's history. We have to win. And we don't need it for the big political event. We need it to save our country.
And tonight, Harris in Atlanta, joined for the first time on the campaign trail by former President Barack Obama and rock legend Bruce Springsteen.
Donald Trump is running to be an American tyrant. He does not understand this country, its history, or what it means to be deeply American.
This has been extraordinary, Mary. A slew of new national polls and battleground state polls, both showing this is a dead heat. Some showing Harris is ahead, some showing Trump is ahead. But I wanted to ask you about this CNN event last night. They had invited both Harris and Donald Trump to a debate or to a town hall. Donald Trump saying no to both. Kamala Harris showing up in front of those undecided voters in Pennsylvania, and she made a promise.
She did, David. Kamala Harris last night in that town hall promising voters that she will be a president for all Americans, Democrats, Republicans, and independents. Now, tomorrow night she will be in Houston appearing alongside Beyonce, while Donald Trump will be sitting down with superstar podcaster Joe Rogan, hoping to appeal to his massive audience of young men, a group that Donald Trump is counting on to win this race. David.
Mary Bruce, live in Georgia tonight. Mary, thank you. Tonight, Russian President Vladimir Putin speaking about Donald Trump after reports they have spoken at least a half-dozen times since Trump left office, and that Trump sent Putin COVID testing machines while the pandemic was raging here in the U.S. What Putin is now saying about their relationship. And tonight, what Putin is also saying about North Korean troops inside Russia, reportedly getting ready to help Russia fight against Ukraine. Let's get right to Martha Raddatz tonight. First on this notion of these North Korean troops inside Russia tonight. What is Putin now saying, Martha?
David, Vladimir Putin was coy about even confirming that North Korean troops are now in Russia, saying that if there are images, they are a reflection of something, and that is something serious. And tonight there are new images from Ukrainian intelligence showing what they tell ABC News are North Korean soldiers in Russia collecting gear and uniforms. The Pentagon has confirmed that some 3,000 of those goose-stepping North Koreans are now at multiple Russian military training sites, the Ukrainians claiming they are already on the front lines. And David, the Kremlin has confirmed that political headline that while the pandemic was raging, Donald Trump sent COVID testing machines to Russia for Putin's personal use. And now Putin claiming that all the talk of multiple conversations between he and Trump after Trump left office has been exaggerated. David?
Martha Raddatz on both fronts tonight. Martha, thank you. This evening, McDonald's late today saying they have now traced the source of the onions linked to that deadly E. coli outbreak to one supplier in California. So far, 49 cases reported in 10 states. One person has died. That supplier has already issued a recall tonight, and other restaurants are now taking action too. We have the list of restaurants taking precautions as we now hear from McDonald's customers who were sickened by E. coli. Mola Lenghi in Colorado tonight.
2 days after taking their quarter pounder off the menu in hundreds of restaurants, tonight, McDonald's says they've found the source of the onions linked to the deadly E. coli outbreak, naming Taylor Farms, a grower based in California. Taylor Farms already issuing a recall of their onions, and with cases expected to rise, other restaurants are taking action too. Yum Brands announcing they're proactively taking fresh onions off the menu at select Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and KFC restaurants out of an abundance of caution. So far, one person has died, and tonight, some of the nearly 50 who got sick are speaking out.
I actually felt like I was dying at first.
Chris Hardcastle says she ate quarter pounders at locations in Colorado and Wyoming while on vacation, and when she got home, days later, she had to go to the emergency room.
At first, my stomach was severely cramping, and then it went into my back, and my kidneys were hurting really, really bad. It was almost like mirroring labor pains.
Attorney Ron Simon representing multiple victims.
It's terrifying. I mean, imagine eating a burger and 2 days later being deathly ill. No one expects that from eating a hamburger.
Well, David, the CDC is expected to update the number of cases as early as tomorrow, with the current nationwide tally of 49 expected to go up. David?
All right, Mola Lenghi with us again on this. Mola, thank you. Overseas tonight to the alarming new images out of Gaza, the horror there deepening. An Israeli strike on a school killing 17 people, including children. Tonight, Israeli drone video showing tens of thousands of Palestinians now evacuating through bombed-out neighborhoods. Israel now forcing civilians to leave the northern area, saying Hamas is regrouping there. When we come back here tonight, news of an arrest coming in after chilling images of an attempted kidnapping. You'll see this. A suspect is allegedly cornering an 11-year-old girl and what a young bystander did. And tonight here, we remember a member of our own ABC News family. Tonight, chilling video capturing the attempted kidnapping of an 11-year-old girl in Los Angeles. Police say video shows a suspect cornering the young girl here, grabbing her, trying to take her away. A 17-year-old witness yelling at the suspect, "Leave her alone." The girl then escaped, and tonight authorities have arrested the suspect. When we come back, a tribute to a member of our own ABC News family. You'll remember his reporting here. To the index, the heat and dry conditions bringing fire dangers to the northeast. Alerts stretching from Virginia up through Massachusetts, New Jersey at the highest risk tonight. 40 states reporting drought. New York City and Philadelphia haven't seen rain all month. We have a passing to note tonight. Former ABC News correspondent Tom Jarriel, a mentor and role model to many.
From ABC News, The Weekend Report, here's Tom Jarriel.
Good evening.
Born in Georgia, Tom Jarriel grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana. In 1958, he launched his career in broadcast journalism at Houston's KPRC.
The American Broadcasting Company brings you Issues and Answers.
Tom would join ABC News in 1965.
It was a very great shock for something like this to happen.
He quickly gained national attention for his coverage of Dr. King's assassination.
Could you tell how seriously he was wounded?
In 1979, Tom was named anchor of ABC's Weekend Report, along with joining ABC's 2020.
This is 2020.
A guilty plea.
From criminal justice reform to holding our leaders accountable.
Is it a problem for you that he's in business?
No, I can't stop any of it.
Wailing infants compete for attention.
But it was Tom's series of reports on the plight of children suffering in Romanian orphanages.
Come on. That's what he wants us to be carried, right?
That Tom remembered as the great defining story of his career.
They're in need of just about everything still, so
but
any help they can get.
But they're still always babies.
And the babies, of course, still need families.
Celebrating the work of Tom Jarriel. When we come back tonight, what played out on the streets of New York City today? A final image tonight. Thousands turning out in New York City. A ticker tape parade for the WNBA champs, the Liberty, celebrating their first title ever. Fans of all ages lining the route. Players receiving keys to the city. Congrats. I'm David Muir. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night. From all of us, good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.